All right, bear with me, this could be a bit tough, but they're lovely words written by my mum. My Kenny. One lazy Saturday afternoon, I was chatting with my cousin Peter White, and he mentioned that he was going to the Orama Ballroom in Footscray. He invited me to come too and convinced my parents he would be my chaperone. I was only 15 and not allowed to go to public dances alone. Peter assured me that he'd keep an eye on me, and he did. A few of Ken's mates danced with me, and I learnt that they were lacrosse players who usually go to the jazz club Dido Saturday nights. At the last dance, Ken asked to take me home, and I said I have to go home with my cousin Peter. But that night, I fell in love with the boy I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. I spent many Saturday nights at Club Dido looking for Ken, but he never appeared. Then 3 months later, my dad said Mr. Ferris was hosting a lacrosse party. Would the girls like to come? Of course, I said. Yes, that's the boy I told you about. He will be there. I danced with Ken all night and introduced him to my parents who were at the party, and they thought I'd flipped my lid. He looked a bit rough, growing out a crew cut, wearing corduroy jeans that went whenever he walked. At the end of the party, Ken asked when he could see me again, and I said tomorrow. Our first date was to a motorbike scramble at the old rifle range. Dad pulled up, Pam's dad. Dad pulled up at the gate, and Ken said, "Not here, Mr. Shaw. I know where there's a hole under the fence." So my grandfather's lasting vision of my mum's first date with my dad was my mum's bum crawling through the hole in the fence. But not having sons, Dad soon fell under his spell too, just like me. He taught Ken how to drive and bought an old Vauxhall Victor that had no first gear and something wrong with the axles and travelled like a crab. We had to make sure whenever we stopped that we were facing downhill. We hung out on the park bench with Ken's mates and my sister Joy opposite the Davis's Milk Bar on Willie Beach until he got a licence and a company car. Then we could go to the drive-in, country drives and watch lacrosse. We still kept hanging out at the beach on weekends. 7 years later, Ken asked Dad if he would like him to take one of his daughters off his hands. He said, "Which one?" We were married on March 23rd, 1968. We had our honeymoon on a houseboat on the Hawkesbury River, which almost ended in divorce because Ken had never driven a boat. We went over sandbars and he hit a pier and I jammed his leg between the boat and the bollard. We bought land in East Keilor and built a house. Then Shawn was born on my dad's birthday, November 22nd, 1970. This was the highlight of our lives. Oh, Mum didn't write that, I just added that bit in. Ken was selected for the Australian national touring side, which toured the world and played field lacrosse in countries such as USA, Canada, England, Scotland and Hong Kong. On this tour, Ken discovered and fell in love with box lacrosse and rarely missed a box game since. So in our family, lacrosse became a way of life, not just a sport. My dad, an Altona councillor, encouraged the council to build a club room for lacrosse. Ken coached a box team that played in the Commonwealth Games in Canada. Dione was conceived on this tour in a hotel room opposite Trevi Fountain and born 1973. So sometimes you get given way too much information. We enjoyed a very happy family life in East Keilor, but got tired of driving back to Altona and Williamstown. So Harry Weaver built our house in Great Parade and we added a pool known as Club Med Altona. It became so busy with visitors that Ken wanted to put a turnstile on the gate. Never realising that Shawn's aim in life was to be a swim school owner. That eventuated when he finished university. He became so successful in the swim school industry that in 4 years we had 300 children on our waiting list, so successful that Ken left his national sales management job in the corporate world and became a very popular swim teacher. Then our waiting list grew to about 700 and then we added a 25-metre pool a few years later and to the existing complex. Then Dione joined us on staff. Shawn met Corey at the swim school and married her a couple of years later, and soon after Dione met Leon and they got married in Lorne. They provided us with 5 lovely grandchildren, Cooper, Bridie, Indy, Annie and Lila. They called him Pa, just like his dad was called. Cooper, Corey, Indy and Bridie are also working at the swim school. It's so gratifying working in a large, happy family business. We're a good team. Ken was the hands of destruction and his policy was, I'll try and fix it, but if I can't, I'll leave it so no one else can. I was the one who fixed everything he broke. I was the mechanic, the plumber, the electrician, the cleaner, the accountant and the navigator. Ken was the entertainer, great host and driver, and kept harmony in our little family. And he got my breakfast every morning, cooked barbecues and selected great wines. We enjoyed travelling so much we visited all sections of Australia and all corners of the world, visiting 83 countries and did 35 cruises. We included our extended family on our travels when possible. On those cruises, Ken always was a hit wearing his crushed velvet jackets to formal dinners and his signature bow tie, which is why I'm wearing this today. Later in life, we were fortunate to have both our children and our lovely grandchildren close by. We were visited often and were able to attend most of their activities to cheer them on or enjoy their performances. They adored their grandfather. Just like a unicorn, he was unique. 6 years ago, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and we were told we were lucky to have him for 6 months. But through his perseverance and determination and your care, Mum, and his love of life, lacrosse, croquet, jeopardy and music, we got to enjoy his company for another 6 years, for which we are extremely grateful. But that came to an end on July 13th when he peacefully passed away. I miss his laughing, his corny jokes and love of travel. He is irreplaceable. He was the best husband, father and grandfather to all of us and a friend to everybody else. I thank him for sharing a life well lived. I'll continue to love you forever, Kenny. Love, Pam.